Om Shanti. Welcome to Raj Yoga Essentials. I'm hoping that this is streaming somehow or having creative technical adventures tonight. So if there is anyone out there, wonderful. Thank you for joining us. And tonight, Raj Yoga Essentials, again, we get to explore the basics. And when you look at Raj Yoga, it basically explores 3 points: the soul or the self, the supreme soul, the eternal parent of all souls, the supreme soul, God, and the law of karma. Those are really the main 3 issues. And they're quite critical in terms of this thing called life. So when we look at Raj Yoga, Raj, really a connection to self, yoga, the relationship to God, and together, Raj Yoga, this is transforming one's karma. So looking at this first aspect, the self, and Raj suggests a royal sense of the self or a real sense of the self. So we have very powerful terms that have a lot to do with quality of life. They are terms like self-respect, self-worth, self-directedness, self-discipline, so many words with self. And they're pretty powerful. To appreciate their power, you can just think about living life without them. So I'm going to go out tomorrow and go through the day without an iota of self-respect or self-worth. Seems a little funny, doesn't it? So they're quite critical to life, self-mastery. And what they all have in common, of course, is this word self. And what Raj Yoga suggests is when one experiences the true or real meaning of self, automatically, it starts to create a foundation, an opening for these different qualities to emerge. And that's where God will get involved. But just this term Raj, or real, royal, this experience of the self. So that's where we're going to start our reflection tonight, is to take a moment to go into this very royal, very real experience of the self. Very different experience than what we have as we sort of go through the day on automatic pilot. We're really going to have to take attention. It's going to feel a bit different, but it will require all of our focus. So wherever you are, I invite you to be seated comfortably, but in a royal way for this very royal experience. And immediately creating the feeling of being alone in solitude. A very deep sense of solitude that's connected to feeling free, even free from the usual influences of the day, not just people, but the influences pressing on us during the day, free of those as well. And those influences are roles, responsibilities, image, a sense of obligation or responsibility. So, all of those influences, just being free of those for the moment. Nothing to prove, nothing you need to show, explain, defend. Kind of allowing the mind to relax and not feel it has to juggle all of those thoughts connected with the image. Just letting them go for the moment. True solitude. And the first experience I have in that true solitude is a sense of relief that I don't have to carry all of those thoughts that have been weighing on the mind. So the mind feels more open, more light, free, creating a space for different thoughts, deeper thoughts, sacred thoughts, thoughts that are described as existential or about my existence. On the most deep level, who am I? I am not just the different roles I play or the things I own. Free of all of those, who am I? Traditionally, in meditation, the spiritual seeker would sit in solitude, a quiet space, very simple, and focus on a single light, a candle, a flame. This is the classic image through time of deep meditation. It is a memorial of remembering the self, going into my inner meditation room, this very free place of deep solitude. And that point of focus, that flame, that light, is not an object outside of me. That point of focus, that spark of light, is me. Experiencing myself as a spiritual light being. Life, separate from the body. This body is perishable, limited, temporary. I am a living point of spiritual light, not visible to the physical eyes or science, but very real. I feel my own presence sitting here thinking. I am using this body, but more than that, I am giving life to this body. This body is living, functions, because I, the spark of life, am in it. I am seated behind the forehead, my presence, I, the thinker, using the senses of this body. This body is in constant motion, even when still. There is activity, the heart beating, the lungs breathing. And I, the observer of all of this, including the body, I am like a still point, a stable source of peace. Observing in a calm, cool way. This very deep, ancient, eternal, real experience of myself. I have always been this. I have always been a soul operating through this body. I've just never paid attention. So-called meditation, focusing on that flame, that light, is simply to start paying attention to who I really am. And it brings such a sense of peace, of dignity, of royalty, the calmness of the self. Om Shanti. This experiencing the self to be a soul is the foundation of everything in this spiritual study. Once I have that container of consciousness, who I am, we want to link, connect, experience the presence of the Supreme Soul. What that starts to do, it feels like, is pour value, activate the value or worth of the self. We think of God as the value maker. What's actually happening is all that is not me is being removed or dissolved, such that what remains is pure me, which is a very valuable state. Purity is the foundation of self-respect and self-worth. So when we say Raja Yoga, Raj, who I really am, yoga, or union, this communion with God, the Supreme Soul, the one who is always in such a pure, valuable state. In fact, we use God and good interchangeably. connecting with that being in a very intimate, personal way, soul to soul, starts to melt. Just like someone's sweetness can melt our hearts, the purity of the Supreme Soul melts what is not me away, and just pure me remains so valuable. This is going to require going to God. We've always pulled God down to us, crying out to that soul, praying to that soul, pulling them down. So instead, we're going to have to go up to that soul in the elevator of our mind and memories. So this idea of going into God's world, which it turns out is a world we're extremely familiar with, long forgotten, but very much in our memories. It's a world of silence. So we need to go into that space, that experience of deep silence, far from any aspect of the physical world. And this is where we find truth or God, and have this very intimate connection, nothing else going on, not asking for anything, crying out for anything, praying, none of this, just a silent communion with that being, experiencing their purity, rather than talking about my problems, experiencing their purity. And trust me, that experience will dissolve all problems. So let's experiment with that now. Once again, seated in a royal way. And I do keep the eyes open so that there's a feeling that this could continue in my waking and walking life. And just one thought is all I need to remember who and what I am. I am a soul separate from this body, expressing through this body, playing my part on this world stage through this body. And I reached a time in my journey through time where I feel a deep pull for peace, for something to happen within the self, some change. A deep pull to be free from old ways. And there is an inner wisdom telling me nothing in this physical world can really satisfy this deep pull. Knowing I have to go into the realm of spirituality. That deep pull takes me into silence, where I feel ordinary thought, day-to-day life, even playing the part, fades away. Entering a space and experience like being in a cocoon, a cave of deep peace, a very satisfying peace. The mind wants to stay in this peace, this silence. The silence nurtures and nourishes me, the soul. I feel at home, comforted by this silence. In that silence, not even aware of the body, just me, the thinker, the being, feels so similar to when I sleep at night. I have no awareness of the body. I am just the dreamer. And here, fully awake, no awareness of the body. It's still there, but it's not in my attention. Just me, the thinker, the soul. In this realm of silence, like an ocean, wrapping myself in that silence, suspended there. Filling my mind with such peace that there's no other thoughts. And this is where truth resides, in pure silence. This is the home of the Supreme Soul, God. When my mind is filled only with that silence, that silence is a perfect conductor to transmit the vibrations, the thoughts and feelings, the presence of God. I can feel the personality of that soul. And from a tiny point of light that God is, I feel there radiates an unlimited ocean of peace, the most calm being I will ever know. Not a trace of worry or tension or arrogance or judgment in that being. Absolutely peaceful, radiating deep, deep silence and love, embracing the soul, embracing me in those feelings of peace, welcoming me. Feeling myself bathed in those rays of peace, of lightness, washing away all the effects of time, smoothing out the jagged edges in my mind. And my only effort is to be still, to feel myself almost being cleaned by those waves of peace and pure light radiating from that tiny point of light that is God. A very sublime, silent experience. And the more that is not me washed away, the more elevated I feel. Feeling more at peace with the self, awakening a hunger to be my best, the value of the self. The Supreme Soul pouring value into me like gold. In this silent communion, always available through the power of my mind and memories, those spiritual memories. Om Shanti. This is the essence of Raj Yoga. To become free, that is, aware of myself as a soul, such that I can experience the very elevating effect of being with God in such a personal way. As a child of that one, very deep, deep connection. And then together, Raj Yoga, with that influence of being colored, impacted by that connection to God. I want to keep that connection, keep feeling that influence as I walk and move around, as I act and interact, so that that connection starts to really shape my activity, my behavior. I actually start to act like a child of God, not just say it or think it, but behave it, bringing those very pure feelings, that sense of value into my day-to-day activity, how I express myself and how I interact and how I respond. This is called Karma Yoga, where I'm performing karmas or actions whilst feeling that beautiful connection to God. And we're actually have a great facility. We're quite used to doing things while thinking about something else. We do it all the time. So this is no different. We have the capacity. It's just we're used to doing it in a physical way, thinking about physical people, bodily beings, but now we want it to become spiritual. So to imagine, as I have that connection, feeling so blissful, so peaceful, so calm, so loved, how would the quality of my activity be affected? How would I drive? How would I move through the grocery store? How would I see other beings? How I perform day-to-day tasks? Not just thinking, but experimenting, trying it. And so that we're going to have to leave in your hands to experiment with. But the reason it's so important is because of something called the law of karma. Every aspect of your life is your own creation. It is the result of your past actions. So if I perform actions in such a sacred state, imagine the type of life you will create for yourself and how much you might inspire others, which is a great service. So I'm going to end there. I don't know if anyone is out there, but I'm going to see if there is, and if we have a couple of minutes where you can ask questions. I know we're on a couple of platforms, I think. So I hope there's a chat box. You're on YouTube. Okay, so you can use the chat box if you want to ask a question or share anything. And a reminder that Tuesday evenings in the same time slot, we have question and answer. So we can address your questions on Tuesday evenings as well. But please feel free now to ask if we don't get to it, or if you'd like to ask over the next few days, email us and we will happily address your questions. An email address is currently being typed into the chat box that you can send your queries for the future to. But if you have something tonight, put it in the chat box and we will receive it. Mm. Okay. We know that there's a little delay in the transmission, so it appears that there might not be any questions at this time. So we'll use these last few minutes for a final reflection. One more time, sitting comfortably, and now the feeling isn't just physically my body seated in this chair, but now the feeling of me, the being, the thinker, I, the soul, seated in a very royal way on the throne of thought, the throne of the mind being my inner kingdom, behind the forehead, the master of my own mind, and in a very gentle, benevolent way, inviting my mind to create thoughts about the self, reminding me I am a soul, not that I have a soul, but I am a soul, and everything that is valuable and imperishable is within me. the values, the virtues, the capacities, the spiritual powers, the wisdom, the memories. It's all within me. Experiencing myself to be a point of life, a point of spiritual light, subtle, quiet, peaceful. I play my part on this world stage, act out my day-to-day life, but feeling my deepest connection, my home, is actually silence. Silence is what refreshes me, recharges me, renews me. And in silence, I feel very close to God. That deep connection with what is real and true, everything God represents. The Supreme Soul, God, the ever pure one, has a very benevolent, gentle, peaceful heart. And the feelings of that heart reaching me as if all attention is on me. And how that moves me, uplifts me, creates a different sense of myself, a true sense of myself, a deep sense of peace in myself, very content. The feeling that being with God gives me everything I have been seeking. And in that state, how will I interact with other souls? Just as I feel God sees me as a soul, a very valuable being, will I interact with others in the same way, not judging, rejecting, criticizing, comparing, but just valuing, seeing others in their eternal state as souls? How will that change the quality of my relationships with others? Just as God changes the relationship I have with myself, how will that change the relationship I have with others? This is my experiment in the days to come. Om Shanti. Thank you so much for joining. We have quite a bit happening this weekend. Let's see if I remember, and hopefully our technology will cooperate in some way. So prepare yourself. Saturday and Sunday, both days, Raj Yoga Foundation is going very deeply into these ideas and experiences. Saturday and Sunday, both days, the timings are different. Saturday, it will be 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And Sunday, 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., both days for the full course. In addition, on Saturday, that will be on Zoom. So if you need the link, email us. There is a registration for that on Eventbrite, which you can get through our website. On Saturday, following the course, there is Insperience Meditation, 1 o'clock to 1:45 p.m. And then immediately after at 2, Inner Fitness. I wish I could remember the topic. I think it's strength. But 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock this Saturday, Inner Fitness. And I believe that's it for the weekend. So the Raj Yoga Foundation scores 2 days. Insperience Meditation on Saturday at 1. Inner Fitness, the topic is strength on Saturday at 2. Inner Fitness is on Zoom, and Insperience is on the YouTube live stream. Again, thank you so much. Visit our website if wishing to follow up. Events page. So that I think has gone to the chat box. So we'll leave that open for a couple of seconds because of the delay. And we'll wish you a very peaceful evening. Om Shanti.